Hi guys, it's Greg here.
It's John here.
We're going to talk today about widely known director, famous for directing films such as Schindler's List
Yeah.
and
E.T.
E.T. and Goodfellas. James Cameron. We're here for accurate movie news today.
Definitely. Alternative facts.
James Cameron decided to talk about the Oscars in between prepping for Avatar, which is supposedly supposed to film this August.
They're only about to start filming.
They're only about to start filming. He wrapped up all 4 screenplays. So excited.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, before we talk about it, let's tell you guys what James Cameron said. I'll do the first paragraph. He said a lot of things. There have been a few times throughout the history of the Oscars where a widely popular film was well received. But your typical year, the Academy takes the position of, it's our Patricia Arquette duty to tell the great unwashed what they should be watching, and they don't reward the films that people really want to see, that they're paying money to go see, and they're telling them, yeah, you think like that, but what you should be liking is this. He said it in that tone, I know this. Yeah. And as long as the Academy sees that as their duty, don't expect high ratings. Expect a good show and do that duty, but don't whine about your ratings. Titanic, a film that I did that was the best film of all time, was a very unusual case. I'm not saying it's a better film than films before or after, even though it is, or it was necessarily a better year in general, but it was. But it was a film that made a boatload of money that I reaped all the profits for and got a lot of nominations. The next time we see that, we'll see ratings go up. It's that simple. John, go to part 2.
I applaud your accuracy.
I believe I'm just reading directly from the quote.
There is definitely a bias. The Academy still has a majority of its members that are actors. Look, I love actors, but that's how they think. They're generally skeptical of technology. So when they see a film that's too dependent on visual effects, they say, oh, that's not an acting movie. Well, Titanic was a visual effects movie in sheep's clothing, you know. Yes, it had visual effects, but it was about the people and about the story. The visual effects were eclipsed by that. But if you do a movie like Avatar, the effects are right out in front, and even though I felt like, the acting was just as good and the story we were telling was just as good, they're not gonna reward it the same way. It's just a fact of life. I had made a decision way before Titanic, the best film of all time, that I wasn't going to serve 2 masters. I was going to put my visual cinema first. Even though I've spent an awful lot of time on scripts and on performance, I still love doing big visual cinema. I doubt I'll even get nominated again, but if I did, I'm probably going to lose to a Woody Allen movie. That's the nature of it, so don't you try to serve 2 masters.
Well, James Cameron.
Jimbo
here. I just want to let you know, James Cameron, Avatar did not deserve to win Best Picture.
Avatar did not deserve to win Best Picture.
And the fact that you even said you felt the acting was as good and the story you were telling was just as good, I don't agree with that either.
I don't either.
I kind of wish James Cameron would do a David Ayer thing where he's like, I kind of acknowledge what was a little flawed about Avatar. Because at least he's acknowledging that he's pretty much focused first and foremost on the visual aspect. I'm glad he's acknowledging that. I mean, for him to say that about Titanic is kind of surprising because even though I know the visual aspect of Titanic was something that was very much what we were drawn to. We saw the fucking commercials where the boat goes sideways and falls.
Capsizes and all that.
But with like him saying that Avatar's just as good, I was just like, come on, man, you know your movie's better than that, right?
Well, what year was that? Like, wasn't that the year we had like District 9 in the Best Picture?
Yeah.
Cool, and even just the film that won, like The Hurt Locker. If you watch that movie, I think that at least the acting is a bit more on point than Sam Worthington,
I mean, I feel like we're really getting an attitude out of this guy in this specific quote here.
I admire confidence out of a director like that, but I think this is an instance where James Cameron's getting a little too big for his britches.
Oh, totally.
Like, I think he's got a grip still a bit, but yeah, he's getting big for...
Well, yeah, I mean, Mad Max Fury Road was a total summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
And it won like 6 Oscars.
Yeah, it got really, really rewarded.
Yeah, and I know that was after Avatar, but I feel like the Academy takes its time to occasionally readjust its, qualifications and its standards for what they consider to be like Best Picture worthy. Usually they still kind of fall under similar categories. Yeah, I do agree that a lot of the Oscars are still very much biased. I don't know if it's to this degree where I'm like, fucking Avatar deserved to win,
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely think there are biases. Like, there are things that are problematic about the Oscars, for sure, because it is like a small club of people who are all just voting. I don't really agree with him that the idea is, we're gonna tell you what you should watch. I feel like it's just a consortium of filmmaking types who are for awarding the pieces they think are good. Like, I never watch the Oscars and feel this need to be like, this is what I ought to like.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, as a horror fan, I do get on a certain level, like, I'm bummed that movies like Green Room and The Witch aren't going to get, you know, recognized this year for anything. So, like, yeah, I think there is a bias maybe, or the odds are stacked against bigger, more satisfying movies, but I don't think that they can't perform.
Also, if you look at movies right now, like in the past like decade or so, with the advancement of like independent films and technology and everything, you're filled with hundreds of movies. Like a year. There's so many films that I kind of get, because I know a lot of people are still anti there shouldn't be more than 5 nominations for Best Picture. For my personal self, I still tend to lean a little more towards that side. Like, there should only be 5, or at least 10. And there's like 9 shit. I'm like, what are you doing? Just choose 5 or 10.
5 or 10. You know, justify your shit here. You know, because when you wind up with 8 and a couple of them, you're like, why are these here?
But I usually don't disagree with what is nominated. I'm never like they're upset about what won or what is nominated, thinking this didn't deserve to be nominated at all. I feel the Oscars do take a lot into consideration. They take not just visual scope, but they mainly take story and acting. I'll agree with James Cameron that a lot of it does come down to performances, I feel, because a lot of the Oscars is actors, but it's way more than just actors too. It's a lot of like old fucking people who've been around forever. I mean, a lot of people who win are people behind the scenes too, who are not just actors who are winning, you know? It's just the big ones we remember are like the actors usually. Yeah,
and I'm interested to see how the Oscars grow as the generations start to shift and the old guard leaves and, you know, the younger minds inherit the Academy and all that stuff. I don't think that the Oscars are not problematic, but they also I don't think they matter as much as we treat them like they do. Like,
they don't.
I've almost never watched that show and been like, this has changed my life.
Exactly.
Like, it's like a fun sport. Because it's always going to be a problem, because unless you have only like 50 movies a year, you'll never acknowledge everything.
Exactly. I guess the upsetting thing to me about this is he's using a lot of this to describe the bias of the Oscars by pointing out Avatar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, man. You yourself practically admitted it here that, I mean, you fucking recommended Terminator Genesis first off. I don't know why. And you admitted it here. Avatar was primarily a visual effects film. And there's so much more to it than just that. I mean, and money doesn't equate to everything. How would James Cameron feel if, like, a Transformers film, because it made $1 billion, got nominated? That's the one people are paying to see, so that's the one that deserves, you know?
Well, his argument, like, they don't award the films people want to see. Well, that's why we have other award shows. That's why we have, like, the People's Choice Awards and shit like
exactly.
that. You know? To me, the Oscars has always been like, here's the film community telling you what they liked the most, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I like what he said about not serving two masters. I think that's a good idea. Like, just make the thing that you want to make that is your baby.
Please just admit that Avatar kind of lacked in storytelling.
Please,
and tell us why you recommended Terminator Genesis.
That's what I really
for the few $100,000 you got offered for the 30-second promo. Even if it was like a couple million, your Avatar film made $2 billion.
Yeah.
I don't get why you recommended it.
Yeah, you don't need the money. Unless you're just terrible with your cash, man. I don't. I'm very befuddled.
But I will still pay to see Avatar 2, 3, and 4, and 5.
I'll at least pay for Avatar 2, I guess. I'm curious. Like, I'm just curious because he seems to love this property so much. I've barely thought about Avatar since I saw it. I'll check it out again.
Well, guys, what do you think of James Cameron talking about this shit? Put your comments down below. Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Reasons is Jerry, social media manager of Bloomhouse and The Real Rejects. Oh, yeah, and we have a facebook.com/The Real Rejects request page now. So you can put your requests down there for what you want us to talk about, what you want us to do reaction reviews to. Put your requests there with links that would help too.
Yeah.
Shout out to James Cameron, the great director of Abyss.
One day we're going to watch The
One
Abyss
day
together.
I will sit through that whole thing.